In 21 days, I was in Kailash, trekked. My muscle mass had gone down, my legs had become like this. But my muscle mass went down so much in these 8 weeks, I just shrank like that.
From links to ancient advanced extraterrestrials to associations with several religions and the mysterious phenomenon linked to the strange monolith, here is how scientists discovered something strange and terrifying on the most mysterious mountain in the world. Looking up a mountain must be a thrilling sight to behold, right? I mean, why else will people take time out of their lives and schedule to climb these monolithic giants? Just take a look at Mount Everest, the tallest mountain in the world. Domineering, mysterious, and unbelievably difficult to climb. It is believed that only about 7,000 people have successfully gotten to the summit of this 29,000-foot behemoth. As challenging as this mountain is, there is still another mountain that, despite it being thousands of meters smaller, seems to have a more dominating presence than our tallest mountain in the world. The mountain is said to be so strange and so challenging at the same time that even the Chinese government banned people from climbing it in the 80s. Let's take a look at Mount Kailash, a mountain that could very well be the most mysterious mountain in the world. Don't take our word for it. Just listen to what happened to this group of Siberian mountain climbers who decided that they weren't going to be scared off by the spooky reputation of this mountain.
Took one strand of what is there on that mountain, you won't believe. In 2.5 hours, I was almost 10 to 15 years younger than what I was at that moment. People around me will vouch for it, how suddenly I'm a different man.
To be honest, they had every reason to be worried about the mountain because the last group of mountain climbers who tried to get to the summit are rumored to have disappeared off the face of the planet. Well, when the Siberian climbers took on the challenge of climbing this mountain, they found that vanishing without a trace was not what they had to worry about. They would find that the mountain seemed to have a different effect on them because by the time they spent a few hours climbing up the mountain, they realized that they had somehow aged rapidly. How on earth did that happen? Shocked to their core, the men rapidly descended from the mountain, hoping this would be the end of this harrowing ordeal. Alas, like the content of any good horror movie, these men will find that their ordeal was far from over. The story goes that within a year, every single member of the team would sadly meet their end. As if that wasn't scary enough, it's been reported that they had all died from old age. As far as we know, these are young men, so how did they suddenly age so rapidly? Looking at such an account, it should come as no surprise that many scientists have decided to investigate the strange phenomenon that is this mountain. When this investigation occurred, these experts came to the conclusion that there is every chance that Mount Kailash may not even be a natural mountain.
Everybody at one point in their lifetime had to go to this place to connect with the gods. There are several possibilities. One of them is that the gods really took residence here.
When they saw the signs that made them come to this conclusion, the theories began to pop up out of the seams. Some believed that the mountain must have been a man-made mountain constructed by the people of an ancient and highly developed civilization of eras long past. Some even went deeper by debating if this ancient civilization may have come from another planet or the handiwork of some spiritual being. Despite these theories, it's fair to say that there are still more questions than answers when it comes to this mysterious mountain. With that in mind, what do we actually know about this Chinese mountain? The weird features of Mount Kailash. Located in the southwestern corner of Tibet, a territory that is within range of the Chinese and Indian border, Mount Kailash is just one mysterious mountain. For starters, it seems to have some kind of affinity with the number 4. What do we mean? Well, for example, the mountain is linked to 4 major religions in Asia. We're talking about Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, and Bon. All are religions that consider the mountain to be an ancient and sacred site. Aside from this religious phenomenon, those that have tried to climb the mountain and those that may have studied it will be able to tell you that there are 4 rivers that flow in the direction of the 4 cardinal points in the area. We're talking about the Sutlej, Brahmaputra, Karnali, and Indus River. As off as this affinity is, this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the strange phenomena associated with Mount Kailash. Aside from this association with the number 4, one of the things that make this mountain look odd to everyone is its actual look. Many have commented that the mountain does not look like a natural mountain at all. In fact, many have noted that it actually looks more like a pyramid than a mountain. As odd as this may seem, We're going to play a little devil's advocate here and point out that there are a good number of mountains that have a similar look to pyramids. For example, there is the aptly named Pyramid Mountain over in Alberta and the Musala Peak in Bulgaria. That being said, we must also note that Mount Kailash still stands out from all these other pyramid-like mountains because these other mountains have the rugged imperfections that are present in the naturally formed mountains.
Every single Hindu person wants to visit Kailash at some point, especially because of internet culture nowadays.
Mount Kailash has, as far as I know, two main significance: Chakra Samvara and Vajrayogini. The blue symbolizes Chakra Samvara. He has many different forms. The red symbolizes Vajrayogini.
Much unlike these mountains, the sides of Mount Kailash are oddly straight. It's almost as if someone had actually gone out of their way to erect this mountain. Many experts have even commented about how the sides are almost perfectly symmetrical or aligned with cardinal directions. As if the almost symmetrically perfect sides of the mountain aren't odd enough, you guys may be surprised to learn that there is even more to it. Turns out that each side has a different color. I know, right? Like, do you guys know of any other mountains that have the same phenomenon? Please let us know in the comment section. Either way, you may be surprised to find that the faces of Mount Kailash do come in different colors. And that's not all when it comes to the oddness of this mountain, as it has been noticed that there is significantly less snow on the north side of the mountain compared to the south side of the mountain. This is known to be odd when it comes to mountains, but it may be best for us to put this into some more context in the sense that in the northern hemisphere, the south side of the mountain receives more sunlight than the north side does. As such, when we think about it, this should mean that the north side of the mountain should have more snow than the south, since it doesn't get as much sun as the south side of the mountain. We can see how Mount Kailash goes against this trend because while the south side is believed to get more sunlight, it still seems to be covered with glaciers and snowfall all year round. Again, that is sort of strange, but not as strange as the fact that the magnetic force in the area also seems to be off. Those who paid attention during science class will know that the Earth's magnetic field operates like a bar magnet that clearly points to the north and south poles. That is why we can make use of magnets today. Well, in most places all over the world. When you take your compass to Mount Kailash, they just stop working, as if something is interfering with the compass. Maybe the force that messes with the magnetic field in the area is also what makes the land in and around Mount Kailash so barren. Apparently, those who went to Mount Kailash found that nothing grows there. Not a single tree or shrub, not even a blade of grass. To make the mountain even more nefarious looking, it seems to have a swastika etched onto one of its sides. At least that is what it looks like. Now, we're not sure if this swastika was carved into the mountain by nature over the course of millions of years, or if someone actually took time out of their day to put this thing on the side of the mountain. We did notice that it was quite odd that this symbol that has been vilified due to its association with Adolf Hitler and his agenda to take over the world.
Он хотел создать нового человека. Человека, который бы владел заклинаниями. Великими заклинаниями прошлого. Теми заклинаниями, когда, прошептав что-либо, можно было оторвать скалу и перенести ее взглядом куда-либо.
Is also linked to the four religions that have been associated with the mountain as well. Funnily enough, this isn't the only thing that seems to be etched on the face of this strange mountain. Apparently, satellite images have revealed that the image of the gods Shiva and the symbol Om can also be seen on the faces of this mountain as well. The oddness of this mountain seems to be endless, as people have also noticed that it sits on what is considered to be the exact center of the planet. Perhaps that is why it is known as the navel of the planet. As if where it sits isn't weird enough, there is also the fact that its distance from several notable landmarks found all over the planet is something to comment on. For starters, it has been noticed that Mount Kailash is exactly 6,666 kilometers from the Stonehenge and the North and the South Poles. As if that isn't odd enough, its height from top to bottom measures about 13,332 kilometers. That's 6,666 times 2. What exactly is up with that? Add the rivers that seem to never freeze, and you'll find that this mountain is truly one odd spot. The struggle of humans and technology to climb this mountain. As if that isn't bad enough, there is also the fact that many have tried and failed to climb this mountain, only to learn that it was not a good idea at all. Apart from the Siberian climbers that met their demise in such a strange manner, we have people who found that they were constantly getting lost as they tried to climb up this mountain. Others claimed that they were making some progress with their climb up this mountain, only to find that they have suddenly been confronted by this blizzard that just occurs without any warning. Let's not even go too deep into those who reported that they were suddenly struck by a strange illness when they tried to climb the mountain. Then there is the account of Colonel Wilson, an experienced mountaineer who told us all about his unsuccessful attempt to climb up the mountain. He too would be confronted by an unexpected blizzard that would render his attempt to climb the mountain impossible. As strange as that was, it still wasn't as strange as what a Russian climber named Sergei Tistyakov experienced when he gave climbing the mountain a go. He reported that the moment he approached the foot of the mountain, his heart was pounding. He was in front of what he considered to be this sacred mountain that had never been conquered. He felt that he was extremely emaciated and suddenly captivated by the thought that he did not belong on this mountain. He knew that he had to leave immediately. This feeling didn't seem to fade away, because as soon as he decided to descend from the mountain, he felt liberated. Harrowing stuff, right? Well, it doesn't get better, as it seems as though it's not only humans that can't overcome this mountain.
Great yogi of Tibet, Milarepa, he had somewhat of a wrestling match on Mount Kailash with an adversary. And like when you watch, when you see Mount Kailash, you see like this kind of line,
Yeah.
We say that they were fighting over a pot, and the vessel rolled down and created this.
In the past, it has been reported that even the most advanced aircraft has failed to fly over this mountain, at least when it is within a certain range of the mountain. It has been reported that some of these pilots experienced feeling this strange and invisible force that seems to make it difficult for the plane to fly over this mountain. What on earth is going on here? Looking at it now, we are indeed left with more questions than answers when we think about this imposing mountain. As we search for answers, we find that the experts seem to have come up with two separate theories. Let's take a look at him, shall we? Extraterrestrial theory. As we may have alluded to earlier in the video, the first theory comes with links to the extraterrestrials from outer space. As such, you may find that many people believe that Mount Kailash must have been created by aliens, so much so that they believe that it could even be an extraterrestrial spacecraft. Apparently, this theory may be inspired by Hindu mythology, as they describe their gods as having a much more physical presence on Earth as opposed to the gods found in many other religions. This Hindu-inspired lore gives us details of these gods that wandered the earth thousands of years ago, perhaps even way before humans were even created by them. As fascinating as this may be, it gets even more interesting when these theories cover the notion that these gods made use of their divine power and advanced technology to carry out their work in the cosmos. Just leaf through the content of the ancient Hindu epic known as the Mahabharata. This epic is filled with references that you would find in any good sci-fi movie today. For example, you can find references to flying vehicles, voice-activated weapons, and even events that sound similar to nuclear detonation.
In the Indian text, Mahabharata or in the Ramayana, they are able to kind of take off without having to run. So it's not like our airplanes. There is something that can hover, it can fly.
With such notions coming into play, maybe we can see how there is some credence to the theory that Mount Kailash could possibly be the last pieces that were left behind by some ancient extraterrestrial civilization. Add the fact that this ancient Hindu epic also gives us tales of a time in the Earth's history when huge cities would float in the sky high above us, and you may find that there may be some credence to the fact that there may have been a time when humans and these gods walked the Earth together. We can understand how these tales may be too fantastic to believe for the skeptics in the house. We must play devil's advocate yet again by noting that the Hindus are not the only ones who may be filled with accounts with figures that seem to be extraterrestrials. For example, there are the Paiute people, whose tales are filled with stories of the Havmusuvs. According to these tales, the Havmusuvs were people with golden skin, long dark hair, and white beards, garments and sandals. As fantastic as this may be, it gets even better because according to the Paiute people, these Havmusuvs also had flying ships and advanced weapons. One of such weapons that stood out is a silver tube that was believed to be able to kill a man with one shot. Does that remind anyone of phasers? Then there are the guys in India who found this magnificent structure in the Ellora caves. We're talking about the Kailash temple. Apparently dedicated to Lord Shiva, it is believed that the structure was built as a sort of symbolization of Mount Kailash itself. According to the experts, it is believed that the massive structure was created by carving 400,000 tons of solid rock. As you can imagine, this is no easy task, and as such, it is a source of wonder to many till this day. Just take a look at the intricate design of the temple. It is believed that in order to pull this off, it must have taken many workers who would have carved away 60 tons of stone every day for about 18 years. Impossible, right? Even with modern-day machinery, it would be impossible to pull this off. As amazing as this may be, the real mystery when it comes to this temple is the labyrinth of caves and tunnels that can be found underneath it. Looking for answers, some of these experts came up with the theory that this network of caves was put in place to create a link to this super cave that is believed to be the home of advanced energy devices along with many other advanced artifacts. With that in mind, there is every chance that the people that put these caves together could be extraterrestrial beings, and as such, there is every chance that they are also the ones who put Mount Kailash up.
Sculptures like this, hundreds of stone images and 3 floors of temple, it is one of the most incredible things that human beings have done on this planet. I don't want to give away the credit to the aliens.
With these different religions talking about their interactions with these extraterrestrials, we have to say that we can't reduce these events to being the results of mere coincidence. There could be every chance that these people have kept the memory of a time long forgotten, a page in the books of human history that seems to have eroded over time. Whether or not you believe that there was some supernatural element to this is up to you, but we cannot deny that there is a good amount of evidence to suggest that extraterrestrials may have been involved when it comes to Mount Kailash. Supernatural theory. As much as many want to claim that extraterrestrials were involved in the phenomenon that is Mount Kailash, we cannot ignore the fact that the mountain may also have some spiritual or religious affiliations. After all, the mountain does hold a lot of significance to quite a handful of religious groups. As we mentioned earlier on, the religions of Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, and Bon are all associated with this mountain. Some may say that these religions even believe that a supernatural being even lives in the mountain. Who could blame them? From the purported image of Shiva on the mountain to the supposed symbol of Om on the mountain, it sure is a bit difficult to argue with these religions that their mountain is sacred. The strange phenomena associated with this mountain doesn't stop there. Some people have reported that they have witnessed strange lights dancing above the lakes at the base of the mountain. Then there was the expedition that was carried out by Dr. Ernst Muldashev back in 1999. It is reported that he set off on this expedition so that he could analyze the place. Well, he would get what he wanted because he would return with some rather troubling accounts of what he and his team experienced when they were out there. They told us that while they were there, they seemed to be haunted by this strange sound that seemed to engulf the entire mountain. It sounded like the noise of a falling stone from within it. They could also hear strange gasping sounds that came from within the mountain in the night. What was going on? Whatever may have been responsible for such a noise, Dr. Muldashev and his team left that mountain convinced that the mountain may have been an ancient pyramid that must have been built by ancient beings. Muldashev also believed that the beings also had access to advanced technology and had what he referred to as subtle energy. Maybe this could be the link between Mount Kailash and the Great Pyramid of Giza. Figures such as Hitler also jumped on this theory that there must be spiritual abilities or links in this massive mountain, and although he even tried to find the lost city that is believed to exist underneath Mount Kailash, they would all ultimately come away with nothing. Maybe one day they will be able to find this link that could prove that the mountain may truly be divine. With that being said, there are still many explanations to some of the oddities that are associated with this mountain. For starters, it is believed that the reason people can't fly over the mountain is that it's actually too risky to fly over Tibet because it is known as the roof of the world due to the fact that it is about 4,000 feet above sea level. As such, it is quite dangerous to fly over Tibet. That said, we are still left with more questions than answers when it comes to Mount Kailash. With any luck, we will get the many answers needed regarding this great structure, from links to ancient advanced extraterrestrials to associations with several religions and the mysterious phenomenon linked to the strange monolith. Here is how scientists discovered something strange and terrifying on the most mysterious mountain in the world.
Another mystery buried deep in the hills of eastern Washington keeps resurfacing, a bottomless pit said to be a pathway to the paranormal. KOMO4's Denise Whitaker heads east in search of the hole.
Back in 1997, a strange fax arrived at the desk of Art Bell, the legendary host of the late-night radio show Coast to Coast AM. The message was from a man named Mel Waters, who claimed to have discovered something extraordinary on his property near Manastash Ridge, close to Ellensburg, Washington. A hole so deep and mysterious that it seemed to defy all logic. A bottomless pit. Mel described the hole as bottomless. Locals had used it as a garbage dump for years, tossing in anything, appliances, furniture, even dead animals, but it never filled up. Even more unsettling, no sound ever came back. No thud, no splash, no echo. The hole simply swallowed everything. From afar, it looked like an ordinary pit, about 9 feet wide, but up close, its eerie nature became apparent. The edges were unnervingly smooth, and Mel said the hole gave off a strange sense of dread. Even his loyal dogs wouldn't go near it, no matter how much he coaxed them. Wild animals avoided it too. Something about the hole felt wrong. And then there was the neighbor's story. After tossing the body of his deceased hunting dog into the pit, the man later spotted what appeared to be the same dog alive in the woods. It had the same collar, but didn't recognize its owner. Was this some sort of resurrection, or something more sinister?
When did you discover this hole?
Well, the hole has always been there. We've been out there for a couple of years now, and the hole has been there since we've been there. It's been there since the previous owner was there, and the previous owner there was quite elderly.
With this interest piqued, Mel decided to conduct his own experiments to understand the hole. Using a fishing line, he first lowered a roll of lifesaver candies to check for water at the bottom. When the line returned, the candies were still dry. Determined to find an answer, Mel tried again, this time with a 1-pound lead weight. He spooled out over 80,000 feet of fishing line, roughly 15 miles, and still didn't hit the bottom. For context, the world's deepest cave is only about 7,200 feet deep. The implications were staggering, and that wasn't all. Mel and others reported bizarre phenomena around the pit. Some claimed to see a beam of black light shooting out of it, defying the laws of physics. Radios brought near the hole would play old broadcasts, as if they were receiving signals from another time. Metals near the hole reportedly transformed into other substances. Government intervention. The story took a darker turn when Mel claimed that federal agents seized control of his land. He was allegedly forced to lease the property to the government under mysterious circumstances. Official explanations were vague, fueling speculation that the government knew more than they were letting on. Mel's story took a darker turn when federal agents unexpectedly seized control of his land.
The one guy claims that he threw his departed canine down into the hole. He swears the dog actually came back to him.
When Mel went public, that's when the trouble began.
The official explanation was that the area was the site of a downed aircraft. However, many believed this was just a cover-up. Rumors swirled that the government had discovered something far more significant. Under mysterious circumstances, Mel was forced to lease the property to the government. In return, he received payments that allowed him to move to Australia. The land and its secrets were now out of his hands, but the mystery surrounding the hole only deepened over time. Over the years, the legend of Mel's hole attracted even more attention. One notable figure who came forward was Red Elk, a Native American medicine man. He claimed to have known about the hole long before Mel's discovery. According to Red Elk, his father had shown him the pit back in the 1960s and described it as bottomless. Red Elk believed the hole was far more than a geological anomaly. It held immense spiritual significance. To him, it was a gateway to another realm, connected to forces beyond the physical world. This perspective added an entirely new layer to the growing mythology of Mel's hole. Experiments and the sheep incident. Mel's return to Coast AM brought even more bizarre revelations. One of the most debated aspects of the hole was the fishing line experiment. Mel had lowered 80,000 feet, nearly 15 miles of line into the pit without ever hitting bottom. Skeptics questioned whether the line had actually reached the bottom but remained taut due to its immense weight. Others argued the line should have snapped if there was nothing supporting it. The absence of echoes or any sound from objects thrown into the pit made the mystery even more puzzling. But what happened next was far more chilling. During one experiment, Mel and his team decided to lower a live sheep into the hole. They wanted to observe the effects of the pit on a living creature. At first, everything seemed normal. The sheep's bleating was heard loud and clear as it descended. Then, without warning, the sound stopped abruptly. When they brought the sheep back to the surface, they were horrified by what they found. The animal appeared to have been cooked from the inside out, as if exposed to extreme heat or some other unknown force. But that wasn't the most shocking part. Inside the sheep's body was a strange, living creature. The entity had eyes that eerily resembles those of a human. It was alive, moving, and unlike anything anyone had ever seen. The discovery raised terrifying questions about what was happening inside the pit. What could have caused this transformation? What was this creature and where had it come from? The story took an even more unbelievable turn when Mel claimed the strange entity had healing abilities. According to him, the creature somehow cured him of cancer. Mel described how it seemed to have a profound, almost otherworldly intelligence. After healing him, the creature returned to the depths of the pit, vanishing into its infinite darkness. This revelation left listeners stunned. Was this pit a gateway to another dimension? A place where the rules of nature no longer applied? Or was it something even more incomprehensible? Theories and government secrecy. As more details emerged, the theories surrounding Mel's hole grew increasingly wild. Some believed it was a portal to another dimension, while others thought it might be a relic of advanced ancient technology. Still, others speculated that it was tied to extraterrestrial activity or government experiments. The government's role in the story added fuel to the fire. Why had they seized the land? What did they know about the pit that they weren't telling the public? The payments to Mel and the secrecy surrounding the area only heightened suspicions. While scientists and skeptics have tried to debunk the story over the years, no definitive explanation has ever been provided. The hole's bizarre phenomena, from the bottomless depth to the strange creature inside the sheep, defy logic and science. Is Mel's hole a naturally occurring anomaly, a spiritual nexus, or something far more sinister? Decades later, we still don't have all the answers. But one thing is certain. The mystery of Mel's hole remains one of the most chilling and puzzling stories ever told. The mystery of Mel's hole only grew with each new experiment. Mel once dropped a bucket of ice thousands of feet into the pit, curious to see what would happen. When the bucket was retrieved, the ice was both hot and unmelting, an impossible contradiction. Stranger still, the ice had transformed into a combustible substance. How could something as cold and solid as ice become flammable? This bizarre phenomenon seemed to mock the laws of physics and nature. Then there was the eerie silence. In any deep space, shouting typically produces an echo that reverberates back, but not at Mel's hole. No matter how loud the scream, the sound would vanish into the abyss. It was as if the pit wasn't just consuming objects, but sound itself. The silence was so profound that it left those near it deeply unsettled. The question of resurrection. Mel became increasingly concerned about what might happen if a human entered the hole and didn't survive the descent. He had already heard unsettling stories about animals seemingly brought back to life, but with strange differences. One such case was his neighbor's hunting dog, which reappeared alive after being thrown into the pit, yet it didn't recognize its owner. This idea of resurrection both fascinated and unnerved Mel. If an animal could return changed, what might happen to a human? Would they come back at all? And if they did, would they still be themselves? Mysterious connections and hidden forces. Mel hinted at larger, shadowy forces at play when he described a strange incident involving fiber optic equipment being delivered to an Ellensburg warehouse. The equipment was reportedly collected by an Israeli group, though Mel couldn't confirm if it was directly related to the hole. Another report came from a truck driver who claimed to have delivered large scientific instruments from the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory in San Francisco, an institution known for its military research. These accounts suggested that whatever was happening at the hole, it involved advanced technology and possibly even international interest. Among the many strange encounters tied to the pit, one stood out above the rest. Mel claimed that a mysterious creature found inside the pit had healed him of cancer. This entity, which seemed to possess otherworldly abilities, cured him before disappearing back into the depths of the abyss. This miraculous event added a layer of hope to the pit's otherwise dark reputation. It raised the question of whether the hole wasn't just destructive, but also regenerative, a source of both life and death. Animals, however, instinctively avoided the area. Birds refused to fly over it, and dogs steered clear, even when coaxed. This behavior hinted at a primal awareness of the pit's unnatural energy, one that affected both the living and the dead. A business opportunity? In a surprising twist, Art Bell once joked that Mel could turn the pit into a business by allowing the government or private companies to dispose of hazardous materials, including radioactive waste. If the hole truly had no bottom, it could theoretically swallow up any material without consequence. Mel didn't outright dismiss the idea, but assured listeners that, despite years of use as a dumping ground, the pit hadn't caused any noticeable environmental damage to the surrounding area. This lack of impact only deepened the mystery of the hole. Pinpointing the location of Mel's hole has proven nearly impossible. Mel and others who claim to have seen the pit remained secretive about its exact whereabouts. The most concrete detail places it somewhere on Manistash Ridge, about 9 to 10 miles southwest of Ellensburg, Washington. This vagueness has only fueled the legend, leaving the exact location of the pit shrouded in mystery. One person fascinated by the story was Jack Powell, a geologist from Ellensburg. Jack, who had a background in petroleum exploration and taught geology at Central Washington University, first heard about Mel's hole while driving home and listening to Art Bell's show. Although Jack viewed the show as entertaining rather than factual, he couldn't shake his curiosity. He recalled an old mine shaft in the Catitas Valley that might have inspired the story. However, this shaft was only 90 to 300 feet deep, nowhere near the bottomless depths claimed by Mel. Despite his skepticism, Jack admitted that the tale of Mel's hole captured the imagination, particularly because of the region's rugged and mysterious terrain. The eerie roads of Washington. For those searching for Mel's hole, the surrounding area is full of eerie spots that add to the story's mystique. Roads like SR 900, US 12, and SR 20 wind through dense forests and dangerous curves, creating an unsettling atmosphere. Drivers often report feeling uneasy, with some even claiming to see shadowy figures along the roadside. One particularly harrowing route is Hart's Pass Road, known for its narrow lanes and sheer drop-offs. Nicknamed Dead Horse Point, this road is infamous for its precariousness and isolation. It's the kind of place where one might expect to come across something as strange and otherworldly as Mel's hole. Mel's hole remains one of the most puzzling and chilling mysteries ever recorded. Its bottomless depths, strange phenomena, and alleged healing powers challenge our understanding of science, spirituality, and the unknown. Was it a natural anomaly, a portal to another dimension, or something deliberately engineered? Decades later, the questions remain unanswered, and the legend lives on, a mystery buried in the depths of Washington state. A mysterious connection with Native Americans. We mentioned Red Elk earlier, but he wasn't the only Native American with ties to Mel's hole. In September 2001, after several appearances on Coast to Coast AM, Mel Waters was invited by a group of Native Americans in Nevada. They were particularly interested in his knowledge of natural medicine, especially the unique plants he cultivated near the infamous hole in Washington. Eager to learn about their traditions and share his research, Mel accepted their invitation and traveled to their reservation. However, he soon realized this visit was about more than just plant medicine. The locals were deeply curious about his experiences with the mysterious pit. After spending a few days exchanging knowledge about remedies, they revealed something extraordinary: a second mysterious hole near a village once settled by Basque families. A second hole. This new hole bore an uncanny resemblance to the one Mel had described in Washington. It was about 9 feet wide, but instead of stone walls, it had a metal collar around its rim. What made it even stranger was the warmth it emitted, an unnatural heat unlike anything Mel had encountered. Just like the original hole, this one seemed to absorb sound completely. No echoes, no reverberations, just an eerie silence that unsettled people and animals alike. Mel and the locals decided to conduct some of the same experiments he had performed on the original hole. When they lowered a bucket of ice into the pit, they expected it to melt due to the warmth. Instead, the ice stayed warm but unmelting. Even more bizarrely, when they attempted to melt it over a fire, the ice ignited, burning like a combustible material. This fire ice became a subject of fascination. Mel later shared on the radio how one villager used it to heat their cabin through the winter. The existence of this second hole led Mel to believe there might be even more such pits scattered around the world, waiting to be discovered. Mel's return in 2002. Despite trying to distance himself from the mystery, Mel felt an inescapable pull back to the hole. In December 2002, he reappeared on Coast to Coast AM with new and puzzling updates. One story involved a Basque man who used a small can of burning ice as a heat source for his wood stove. Initially, it worked well, providing consistent heat through the winter. But one day, the man returned home to find his wood stove had sunk through the floor and into the ground. The burning ice had somehow weakened the structure beneath it, causing the stove to collapse. Determined to continue using the ice, the man fixed the stovepipe and kept the stove operational, even after it sank into the ground. However, within weeks, his entire cabin began to disintegrate. The walls crumbled to dust, and the structure eventually collapsed completely, forcing him to move out with family. A government cover-up? The man contacted Mel to share his bizarre story, which prompted Mel to consult an official he had met during his time in Australia. This mysterious figure showed an unusual level of interest in the burning ice and urgently requested the exact location of the cabin. Soon after, a team arrived at the site with cranes and heavy machinery. The crew worked tirelessly to remove the wood stove, which had become unnaturally heavy. Despite using chains and cranes, they struggled to lift it. Eventually, they managed to extract it through sheer force and loaded it onto a massive truck. They left without offering any explanation, deepening the mystery. This event left Mel increasingly paranoid. He began to feel as though he was being watched, followed by unknown figures who might have ties to secret organizations or government authorities. Mel suspected that his experiments and involvement with the hole had attracted unwanted attention. From the revival of dead animals to the peculiar effects of the burning ice, the events surrounding the pit were far too significant to ignore. The final cover-up. As Mel tried to piece together the bigger picture, he couldn't shake the feeling that others were equally, if not more, interested in the secrets of the hole. The involvement of heavy machinery and secretive teams suggested a deeper significance to the pits, possibly tied to advanced science or otherworldly phenomena. Despite his fears, Mel couldn't resist the pull of the mystery. He continued his investigations, but the growing attention from authorities made it clear that the story of Mel's hole wasn't just about a bottomless pit. It was about something much larger, something that might never fully come to light. Mel's last attempt to return to his mysterious hole was met with a chilling reality. The site, once his private obsession, had been transformed into a heavily guarded area under complete federal control. Armed agents patrolled the perimeter, and access was strictly prohibited. The official explanation? A plane crash. That's what a man in a suit told him, while people in biohazard suits worked in the background. But Mel wasn't convinced. Rumors began to spread that the government had found something deep within the hole, something so terrible it had to be hidden from the public. Years later, Mel defied restrictions and attempted to return to Washington. However, his journey was abruptly interrupted when a series of strange events unfolded. While traveling to visit his nephew, an altercation broke out on the bus. Police intervened, and Mel blacked out. When he regained consciousness, he was lying in an alley in San Francisco, missing his wallet, his keys, and, disturbingly, several of his teeth. There were marks on his arm, as if he'd been injected with something. The experience left him shaken and convinced that he had been targeted. Meanwhile, the area around Mel's property had become a no-go zone. Witnesses reported seeing soldiers patrolling the site, and satellite imagery of the region on Google Maps appeared blacked out, as if the location were being deliberately obscured. Mel's hole wasn't the only pit to spark fear and fascination. In Russia, a similar anomaly, the Kailash super-deep borehole, was drilled over 40,000 feet into the earth. Researchers there claimed to hear unsettling sounds, cries and screams that some believed were voices from hell. If Mel's hole was even deeper, what horrifying discoveries might have been made there? A terrible discovery. After decades of speculation, scientists were finally able to study Mel's hole, but what they found was far from ordinary. Dressed in hazmat suits, the research team approached the abyss, believing it to be a geological anomaly. Instead, they encountered something unexplainable, a bizarre energy source that defied all known laws of physics. This wasn't just any energy, it was something that seemed to warp reality itself. One of the lead researchers described how the hole appeared to bend time and space. Objects lowered into the pit seemed to vanish into nothingness, and the energy emitted was unlike anything they had ever measured. Tucker Carlson addressed the finding on his show, stating, "If this exists, what else is lurking out there that we have no clue about?" His chilling remarks captured the growing public anxiety. The hole wasn't just real, it was dangerous. Even the scientists involved admitted they were only beginning to understand the implications of what they had uncovered. One researcher, still reeling from the experience, commented that the hole's energy source could not be explained by any current scientific theory. A mystery solved, or just beginning? While the government and researchers may have uncovered some of the secrets of Mel's hole, what they found has only raised more questions. Is this energy source natural, or is it the product of something far more advanced, possibly extraterrestrial? Could the hole be a portal to another dimension, or even a gateway to something far more sinister? As Tucker Carlson aptly put it, "We've spent years thinking this was a myth. Now it's not just real, it's something far more dangerous." The mystery of Mel's hole may be solved, but the terror it represents is just beginning to surface.